I've done things you just won't understand. There's a cost to war and a price you pay, fighting for Uncle Sam. I'm doing all I can, trying to be a helping hand, but it's hard to find a way. I was down to 16 cents left in my pocket, with a laundry list of new skills that nobody wanted. Now there's no telling when this downward spiral will end. I just ride the wave. But I'm still here, hanging on. I don't ask for recognition for the things that I've done. When you're down to your last dime and your hope is all but gone, yeah, no one's hiring heroes, we're just supposed to carry on. I'm just trying to find my way. I don't need you to shed a tear. Just please remember, I'm still here. I enlisted cause I wanted to make a difference, but sometimes I wonder if it's me. Am I the one that's different? War can change a man, it's hard to understand. I just take it day by day. Yeah, and I'm still here, hanging on. I don't ask for recognition for the things that I've done. When you're down to your last dime and your hope is all but gone, and no one's hiring heroes, we're just supposed to carry on. I'm just trying to find my way. I don't need you to shed a tear. Just please remember, yeah, we're still here, hanging on. No, we don't ask for recognition for the things that we've done. When you're down to your last dime and your hope is all but gone, and no one's hiring heroes, we're just supposed to carry on. So many have been forgotten, we don't need you to shed a tear. Just please remember, we're still here. Yeah, we're still here.
I wasn't going to go. And even after we had that first meeting, I told my wife, no, I'm not going. She come unglued. Even the night that we left, I wanted to go home. Instead of her staying there with me, she left because she knew if she was there, I'd leave. I guess I didn't feel comfortable till I seen the highway patrol. That made a difference.
of the free because of the brave.
And I really came in under the auspices of Project Gemini for capsule recovery teams. And the first thing the guy said out of his mouth was, how do you feel about jumping out of airplanes down in Puerto Rico? And I just went ballistic. I thought, wow, now you're talking. At that time, pararescue was down to bare bones. They lost a lot of troops because the PJs were old. They qualified us so quickly you couldn't believe it. And it was like we were the most qualified PJs in the Pacific Ocean. There was a Japanese magazine, very close to the Boy Scout kind of thing. So they were invited to come on a jump. Well, unbeknownst to us, the thread that was put on the lanyards was the wrong size thread, and they all pulled out. That's what they found out later. I jumped out, and it was smooth as glass. It was just like sliding down a slide. And I thought that was the greatest jump I ever made in my life. 2 or 3 seconds later, I realized my parachute didn't open, period. Nothing happened. And all I could think of, and it was much more colorfully spoken, I might add, that you didn't hook me up. And then I realized I'm about to be in a lot of trouble. So I just reached for my reserve. The inflation of the chute was so severe, I bounced up into the parachute, and I also heard this crunching, and I thought I broke my back. It was my swimming mask. The glass was pushed up into the manifold of the scuba tanks that I was wearing. Otherwise, I would have punched my skull straight into my manifold. Got it open right around 200 feet, and the whole jump is a 1,200-foot jump.
Went to a couple of meetings, and somebody asked me, how do you think about that? And I says, it seems like I'm in grade school. The school teacher is taking us on a field trip, and come on, kids, stay close, stay in line. After experience what I just did, I'm extremely impressed. I don't think I've ever felt more humble going into an airport or coming out of a plane and being awarded such a welcome. My opinion has changed. It was a very rewarding experience. The people that put this together, I'm completely amazed at the professionalism and the effort and the logistics that you have to go through to make this thing work. Is extremely impressive, and it's been my pleasure to be able to experience with you guys.
He's got a black hat on, tells you where he's been. It's filled with patches and pins from his accomplishments. He says, I don't need a mention, 'cause I only did my job. I say that we would not be here now if you had not done your job. This one moment, it's an honor to shake your hand and say, soldier, thank you.
I was very apprehensive about joining the honor flight. I grew up looking up to some of my relatives that were combat service, and I didn't consider my service as a real military service. I enlisted in the Special Forces Army Reserves, but it wasn't until we got to DC, the town crier was bringing us down through the concourse. He brought everybody up to the front and read about what their contribution was. There was no mention of service or rank. Everybody was the same. And it began to hit me that, hey, I had raised my right hand like everybody else had. Only 6% of the adult population has repeated that oath. The whole honor flight program changed my mind about who I was, and there's a brotherhood there that you don't feel in civilian life.
I left the house. Dad was an Army colonel type, and I decided to piss him off, and I joined the Marines. Got out of the Marines, graduated from Mississippi State, joined the Coast Guard Reserves, and went to OCS, became a wonderful lieutenant on a boat. Stayed with them till Desert Shield, Desert Storm was over, and Admiral Yost told 1,500 of us junior officers, hey, it's been nice, but it's not been real nice, bye. And I got a job with the Department of Defense, becoming Natural Resources and Cultural Resources Program Manager, and also the Tribal Consultation between the government and native tribes, and I'm Chickasaw. The Indian tribes mostly have young men who join military service. 25% of our male population join the military. For Vietnam, it was 62,000. Why can't we get rewarded for the things that we do? A real perfect example, and y'all can please look him up if you would. His name is Billy Walkabout, a little Cherokee guy. He was awarded 4 Silver Stars, 4 Bronze Stars, 6 Purple Hearts. His command refused to put him up for Medal of Honor because it was Indian. Kind of take that to heart if you would. If y'all know of any Native Americans that are interested in joining in the military, say it ain't all bad.
My dad took me everywhere. We would go on hunting trips and fishing trips, and it was always with his buddies. They had all served in World War II. This was back in the day when men didn't cry, if you all remember that. And they would start talking. And that was the only time I ever heard my dad or any of them ever talk about the war. And I never really understood what made them cry. Years later, I got drafted, and I got to see a lot of vets that had finished their tour at Nam. And I spent a lot of time talking with those guys, but still didn't understand what was going on. Well, I came home, and one of my really good friends had been to Nam. And he would have these bouts where he would just go ballistic. I didn't know what it was. And until I came here, and I've visited with several of you, I can feel and understand what my dad and his friends went through listening to you guys. And I'm so honored. I'm so proud to be a part of you guys. Life kind of makes sense now. It's been wonderful. I've been here a couple of times in my life, but never like this.
Got a somber look in his eyes from the stories he's kept inside. He says, I don't need a mention, 'cause I only did my job.
I did not serve in war. I did not do any war. I just served in the States. But I am here because my husband needed to come, and my 2 brothers who died from Agent Orange, one 2 years ago, one 5 years ago. I came for them because my older brother wanted to come so bad, but he died before he could get here. So I thank you for your stories, because now I know what the heck they went through, because they never told me. And that's all I have to say.
He doesn't think he deserves a mention, that he only did his job. I don't think I'd be here singing this song now if he hadn't done that job. So let's all give him a moment. It's an honor to shake his hand and say, soldier, airman, sailor, and Marine, thank you.
Man, I thought we were through with this. Then I watched the evening news. There were folks that still wouldn't stand for the old red, white, and blue. At first it made me fighting mad how they think that that's okay. Then I thought they just don't understand, and given a chance I'd say, have you ever been there when taps was played, or for a 21-gun salute? Had to hear the words you never want to hear? Have you ever had to face that truth? When a son or daughter didn't come back home to a family so devoted, then you might not disrespect our flag if you'd ever been handed one folded.
The Navy was having a spinal meningitis breakout. So they closed down the boot camps. I went directly to the ship. It was a phenomenal experience. Food aboard ship was excellent. Being able to drink as much milk as I wanted, go back for seconds. However, the ship that I was on was attacked. Torpedo boats attacked it. It made the news. It made a big splash. The USS Joy, which is my ship, and the USS Maddox were attacked. It was a big controversy. It's the incident that got us into Vietnam. When we were in battle station, I was one of the loaders on a 3-inch gun. What I went through was nothing in comparison to what they went through. We're fortunate to be here, and I'm proud of America. I really am.
I was a squad leader on the Dusters, which are a twin 40 millimeter gun system. And the infantry, they like to hide in the woods. And so I'd call in and not see anybody. They would say, well, we're up the hill here about 50 meters. If you get in trouble, let us know. That wasn't very comforting. If there was any enemy though, they knew exactly where we were at because we made a lot of noise and we're big. One of these guys had picked up a monkey. I went out on the guns later that morning, and I'm standing up on the back of the track. I looked down in the turret, and there's that spider monkey down there playing with a hand grenade. I went through the roof about getting rid of that monkey, or I'll shoot him. When I left, the lead vehicle and the convoy blew up and blocked the road. They started walking in mortars. They just had very poor mortar man because they should have been able to hit us. And they got the road cleared. We jumped on the trucks and boom, straight into Dong Ha in a cloud of dust. Honor flight is over the top, but I had a lot of anxiety, even though the staff said, don't problem, we're going to take care of everything you need. There was more needs than I realized I need, but they took care of it.
When they said, you've been picked to go to Vietnam, I said, okay, I'll go. I did it because my 2 brothers had just joined the Air Force, and I wanted to protect them so that they didn't have to go to Vietnam. First night, I hear the rockets come in, explosion, and then the warning. So I go out into the bunker, and I'm the only one sitting there. Next morning, I said, where were you guys last night? And he says, if you're going to get hit by a rocket, where would you rather be, in the bunker or in bed sleeping? We had a radar site up on top. Every time we would drive up there, my driver would say, Steve, slide over here to the right. And then this big snake would come out, the ones with the big head, bang, right on the side of the Jeep and the seat. And he says, that's why you got to move over. There were 3 names that aren't on the wall. 2 were MIAs. We're not MIAs. We did find them. They've got to be listed as MIA because where they crashed. And that still bothers me to this day. And then a friend of mine from high school was shot. They sent him back home because he was that badly injured. He lived for a month and a half. And so because he died in Minnesota, not in Vietnam, he couldn't go on the wall.
And I got put in a power plant operator. Called me all kinds of names. Hey, ese mojado, wet bag. Some of the Mexicans would call each other like that. It broke my nose. I was coming down in the shower. I would go to sleep, and I had my buck knife always open just in case, they try to. I think the Kitty Hawk, they had to go back to the States because they had so much riots. My ship, they had a lot of riots. Put in a transfer, and over there in Vietnam, it was way different. Everybody was helping each other and stuff like that. I got put in the rescue team. The gunboats are getting blown up. We had a net because when you pick them up, they're all been there so long in the water, you pull their muscles out, your arms out. They say brown water, really it was all black. I had jungle rot all the way to my knees. I don't have any toenails. The worst thing I saw was a jumbo jet. They're going home, man, all 40 of them, a motor round, killed them all. Man, I got a cold shield and everything. I said, nah. That's when my fear came in. And then I was getting real bad anxiety. It seems like it's a dream. I don't even know if I killed anybody because we were shooting and everything. And I hope I never did. And then when I got out, I went back to the church that I went. I told the priest, and he said, no, you were taken there. You're forgiven. You got forgiven. I still don't believe that. And I didn't want to come. I'm glad Santini talked me into it. Feel better.
And I was wounded December 7th. The top sergeant had already, I didn't need to go out on this last patrol. I didn't need to go out. He said, because you're 20 days short, I'm gonna send you home early. But we lost my A gunner. There was nobody else to substitute. I told my top, I said, well, one more time, no guts, no glory. That was our saying. We were an infantry platoon that we were chasing Viet Cong back to the DMZ. The air wing, we came in and we had they had napalm and concussion bombs. And then we'd go in the morning, swift,
in one of those bomb craters, Viet Cong landmine that Cox stepped on, tore him in half. He landed in my arms and crying for his mom. 3 times he cried for his mom. Then his body gave out, and I got to see all of his innards on my body. And next to him was my radio man. He got hit right below the ear, and it blew his top off. And he was just next to me when the corpsman showed up. I could see this leg was broken, twisted like bones sticking out, and been medevaced out to First Med in Da Nang. I woke up 2 days later. My hands been burned. They were all bandaged up, and my legs were covered with cast. And I couldn't open my eyes, and they hadn't cleaned me up. There wasn't enough corpsmen to take care of all the patients and all those wounded veterans inside those warehouses. And by the time I started waking up, a corpsman was coming around, and he went down there and cleaned my face out. And that's when I said, I'm alive. My legs were still on there, and I said, Doc, I'm dying with my legs on. Don't you dare take my legs off. And sure enough, and I'm still wearing my legs. My mom's birthday was December the 8th. Marine Corps was knocking on her door to let her know I was wounded in Vietnam. And she won't forget it. She's 96 now. On December 7th, I go through a remembrance every year. I feel like I've built a steep climb, and I'm getting ready to come down. Cox had already stepped on a landmine before. We were rescuing a helicopter, and we were running perimeter. Billy Cox decided to run across, and as soon as he stepped out of the column, he hit a landmine, but it was a dud, and it went like those firecrackers. I heard it, and I saw he burned his trousers and his ass, but I pulled out the pants, and here you go, Carmen, for Billy, and unwrapped the camera. Boom, and I took a picture of him butt naked. When I got the pictures back, and I said, look at here, Billy. And he was writing his mom about his adventure. And he put that picture in the envelope. And that's when we got called out. And I'm sure she got notified of him being killed even before the letter got to her residence in Lexington, Kentucky. Here I am, I get to see the wall. Cox's and Berryman's name up there, and I know that mine would have been in there had I been just a few feet forward. As soon as we got to the wall and I started looking, there he was, Billy Cox. I go, oh, Billy. I pray for them. I go to church wherever they're at. They're pain-free, and I tell them, hey, here, I'm still suffering down here, guys. Come and get me.
Have you seen a heartbroken mother or a father fall to his knees? Been there when a family got the news that your freedom wasn't free. Have you seen a flag draped coffin? If you did, how'd it make you feel? To know a soldier died to give you the right to stand or kneel.
A friend of mine, when he got killed and I got wounded, I would have been either below him or above him on the wall. I carried him for 40-some years. They medevaced us in a jungle penetrator, and that's just a little piece of pipe with 3 seats. And then they put him there, and I had to hug him and hold him up close to prevent him from falling off. I was that close to him, I could just, his eyes were open, and all I could see was his eyes. His blue eyes were kind of engraved in my mind. For the longest time, I avoided looking at people with blue eyes. We got mail call, and then all of a sudden Richard stomped away. When he came back, he said he was going to go pointman again. He walked about maybe 100 yards. The shots rang, and we ran to that point, and that's when he was shot. Richard got upset because he got a Dear John letter. When you guys sent mail call and gave us the package, that really came to me. When we went to the wall, I thought that I was really going to fall apart. I still felt the pain. I had to sit there and tell Richard, go home. You weren't our tourist guide. You guys did it to help us heal. My goal was to go to the wall and try to say goodbye. I think I accomplished that. It was a healing.
Did my basic, and then I enlisted, trying to stay out of Vietnam. And the MOS I went into was kind of related to engineering. And so there was 20 of us in the class. At the end, Master Sergeant came in and said, all of you expletives are going to Vietnam. So I wound up there, not really in combat soldier, but doing administrative stuff. It was pretty confusing those days, especially for the soldiers, that once we got there, really gung-ho, and then we realized that after a few months that we weren't really sure what we were fighting for. You know, in those days, President Lyndon Johnson, you know, he sent us all over there, and even in 71, 72, people were saying, well, everybody was coming back, so you didn't see much action, but I saw several body bags, you know, still coming back. I haven't even been able to talk to my wife and my daughters about it, so hopefully that'll come to fruition soon, and get it off my chest to them.
My first experience approaching Cam Ranh Bay, it was dark, it was night, and all I could remember seeing was an incoming round, so you could see the flares going back and forth. I said, wow, we're going to land on this place? Yes, we did. Being an RTO, wherever the squad leader went, you have to go right behind him. We went in a patrol, and the sniper was shooting us, and a couple of rounds went in between my legs, and by being a nice guy, you had to be an aggressive guy. You become sort of like an animal. Accepting that in your mind is the hardest thing to do, because you got to accept that this is really war. Next part, you got to accept the fact that you're going to have your friends killed, and you can't let that get you down, because you let it get you down, you got your memory, your thinking changes. It stays inside of you, but you got to keep going. I lost a good friend. He was a medic. All of a sudden, we got a sniper shooting, called a medic, and he went out there. Last time I saw my friend, he got shot in the head. And I missed the heck out of it, because we were just sitting talking. He was a heck of a nice guy. That's another thing that Vietnam got me through, was faith in God, and he did. He brought me through. Same thing when I went to Saudi Arabia.
I was given one assignment, a member of the 1st Air Cav band. Phuc Vien became our base, called Rocket Alley. We traveled the entire southern portion of Vietnam, furnishing the music for change of commands for the troops. Also put together a little rock group. One of the jobs we did, they were called med caps. You go out into the middle of the jungle and attract the villagers, and they would get medically treated. Problem with that was that we had to lock and load going through the jungle. I had to take my big instrument, throw it on top of the tank, and then get on the tank and sit there. One of my first experiences, we started playing our music, and we started attracting the villagers. Down to my left was a knoll. As we were playing, somebody started firing. Immediately we all reacted. We were playing Cherry, and then it's like a record came to a stop. It just kind of went, and then we all hit the ground, got our weapons, started firing. The tank, it was your big machine gun. All of a sudden, simultaneously, they all turned and started firing at that knoll. So powerful that you could see the trees in the back just kind of splinter and fall. It was very surrealistic. Finally, the commander comes over and he says to cease fire. And I remember this old man, I was on the ground, and this old man comes up and he says, "It's okay, it's okay. It's okay." And I'm going, "No, it's not. It's not okay." We kind of composed ourselves and finished our job. I got back on the tanks, locked and loaded, and came back to the base. They asked us help be back up in a concert. The guy was the Elvis Presley of Vietnam. They took us to Saigon. They got us a real hotel. And for the first time, we actually took hot showers and used a real bathroom. Super luxury. In all the mess and ugliness, there was a real bright spot right here. This theater was packed with teenagers. The guy came out. All these girls screaming and yelling, and then we started playing for him. Initially, yes, I thought it would be safer. I came to realize, no, we're in it just as bad as anybody else.
I received a letter You've been drafted. What do you mean? You were in the Army. What? I don't even speak English. So I went to LA, induction office, and I told the guy in Spanish, tengo esta carta. He said, but you don't speak English. I said, no, but I'm gonna learn. Nope, you get out of here. And every night I have a book studying English. I used to go every Friday. Finally, they cover. I said, you know what? The only way we're gonna get rid of you, get you in and get out of here. I said, welcome to the Army. You're in the Army. When I went to basic training, Beto, you're going to KP. Sir, I don't have any help in that. There's too many potatoes there. I'm trying to do as fast. Tell this guy how to do it. See this machine in the corner? Yeah. The bucket start going like this, and then water come down. He said, you get the sack, throw it in there, and it comes. Potatoes, and peels right there. Man, that's technology, man. Wow. What do you know? That was the first time in the story of the Army that we didn't have potatoes for breakfast. And they called my name. Humberto Nevares, France. So we get to Metz, France. And I got me a book on French. Comment allez-vous, mademoiselle? Oui, monsieur. I think it was about a couple of weeks, three weeks. Hey, you're going to Germany. I threw away my French book and I got me a German book. My name is Herr Humberto. About a little bit more than a year to go. I got a letter and you're going to Vietnam. You don't have to go because you're a resident. You're not a citizen. Sir, I'm here. I'm going. Whenever they send me. Okay? And we had a group that had tuberculosis. That was positive. They were going to go to the hospital in Okinawa. So in Okinawa, they made me a motor pool sergeant. I got out. I became an American citizen. I love this country. I earned my way to be an American citizen. Because I was there with these guys. I'm an American.
Most of us are immigrants, proud to call America home. And I'll stand for the red, white, and blue, even if I gotta stand alone.
Send me right straight to Vietnam. Captain says, you're going into the Fire Direction Center. I thought, ooh, this is good. Because Fire Direction Center had these bunker, all sandbags. I thought, well, that's about the safest place on the fire base. Right. We had all those antennas sticking up, okay? And guess what? We were ground zero. We had several helicopter accidents. The Marines had their foxholes there, and they had poncho liners over top. And if the helicopter came in wrong, it would suck those poncho liners up into the engines, and then the helicopter went down.
They were short of explosive people, so they said that's explosives is electronics. But the whole idea of my field is they send you one place, TDY for 6 months, bring you back, send you another place, PCS, bring you back and send you another one TDY, so it's only one tour. I was on mobility, worldwide status, to go any place in the world at a moment's notice. My first couple of years, I was all over the place. I was in Ubon, Thailand. We got in like 1 or 2 in the morning. 6 o'clock that morning, we went to work. What I was doing, there was people waiting at different places under fire, waiting for us to take and save them. They had pilots in the plane sitting in there running, and I pull up with the bombs, put them on the plane as fast as I could get out of the way. The plane, he takes off, and he's already up in the air. We were bombing everything. North Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos and stuff. Just, I think it was the middle of February, they said the war is over. All the people in the States thought it was over. I didn't leave until June, and we were still bombing, just like I was there when I got there. But the war is over now. Then I go back to the States and go to Guam, and they're still bombing out of Guam. I was twice as close to North Vietnam as the people in Saigon. But they says you weren't in country. So when they started covering Agent Orange for the people in Vietnam, they wouldn't cover us because they said the Agent Orange by us was not as bad. And we used Agent Orange in Guam and in the Philippines.
When they interviewed me and asked me what I wanted to do in Vietnam, like an idiot, I said, I want to go to the 1st Cav Division. The officer that was assigning me looked at me and said, you're in luck. We've had 2 KIA lieutenant up in the 1st of the 5th, so we'll send you up there. And I went, hey, let's talk about this a moment. Let's not get too hasty here. 4 months later, in my platoon, we took 14 killed and 12 wounded in about 5 hours in the Ia Drang Valley. And it was basically exactly at the same place where the famous colonel and the 7th the cav, stepped into it. We even air salted into the same LZ X-ray. My favorite expression in Vietnam was, "You boys go fight them, I'll hold the horses." I was also a championship low crawler. In fact, I had to be told to stand up to get on the Freedom Bird because I wasn't allowed to low crawl up the steps.
Our home base was in Udon, Thailand, and when we were on mission, we flew to this main base, Lima 98, which was so secret, they didn't even put the name on the map. You better be pretty good with a compass, because other than that, you're not going to find it. We would wait the call in case your aircraft got shot down over North Vietnam or Laos, and our job was to go get them, bring them back. I would remember thinking on that very first mission that there's an F-4 fighter that could fly almost Mach 2 and carry more armor than they had in World War II, and they didn't know he was coming, and they shot him down. Here we are in our little helicopter doing 120 knots, chugga, 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 you know, with a M16 and a 38 and a medical kit, and they know we're coming. What is wrong with this picture? And then instantly in the back of my head, it said, "That's what you signed up for. Don't whine about it now." You can't believe seeing men's faces when you pick them up and bring them back. Some of them are very excited. Some of them just sit there and stare. Each person who was on an aircrew carried a pouch. It contained maps to get you out of where it is. It contained miscellaneous stuff, gold, lots of gold. During the monsoon season, a fighter crashed into northeast Thailand. When he punched out, he did not take his classified with him. The Air Force wanted it back. We were flown by helicopter into this little village. Pop us out of the village, put us in canoes. They took us right out to where the plane crashed. We stayed there for 2 or 3 days. We couldn't find it. So, we asked the village if there's anything we could do for them. And they said, if you could take care of some of those alligators, we appreciate it. So we went out and spent a day or so killing alligators. We adopted Papasan. We put him with a mask and fins and the whole kinds of thing. And he was very proud of the picture we sent him. We lost a whole chopper crew. I didn't relate to the fact that they got killed to the wall. You know what I mean? It was like 2 separate events. I insulated myself. If you know somebody, it makes everything harder. And I remember one time on Midway Island, they had an under 18 club, and then they had the lowest base rank, and the next base rank, and the next rank. It was very segregated between the rank. I asked him, why all this segregation? And he said, if a ship is really in trouble, it's very hard to close the door on a man when you know him. Think about that. So I really kind of felt the same way when I went overseas that way. I said, if you don't know him, you don't have to forget him.
And I went down to take my physical. The doctor, he stamps medical records 4F. What does that mean? He says, you're unfit for military duty. I said, well, you got a bad knee, don't you? I said, yeah. So the next day I went down to the Navy. We can't take you, you're 4F. So I went to the Air Force, told me the same thing. So the Marine Corps recruiter was out there, said, I want to go in the service. They classified me as being 4F. He said, well, come in the office. And he said, do this 10 times. I did it. He said, sign here. So when I got to Vietnam, I kept saying, I'm 4F, I shouldn't be here. So when I get to Okinawa, captain comes up and he says, I need 25 volunteers to work in communications. And I'm thinking to myself, answering the phones. Hi, Joe. Hi, this is Joe. What number would you like? Stupid, I raised my hand, I volunteered. They had a little graduation for us. The same captain comes up and he says, well, I want to thank you guys for volunteering. He says, the only setback to being a radio operator, he says, upon initial contact, your life expectancy is anywhere from 3 to 5 seconds. And I'm going like, and you couldn't tell me this before I volunteered? So when I get to Vietnam, and this E7 walks in, and he says, he's going on patrol tonight. And I meet my lieutenant, and he tells me, you're my new RTO, right? I said, yes, sir. He says, you're new in country? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, you stick to me like stink on shit. I said, yes, sir. So we go out, and we're walking on this paddy dike, and all of a sudden, we start getting hit bad. Well, he jumps into the rice paddy. I jump in with him, because I got the radio, and he's got the headset. And I noticed that every time that he moved and I moved, the bullets were hitting all around us. So he turns around and he looks at me and he says, you stupid son of a, put the antenna down. I'm going, oh, shit. I said, oh, damn. I felt like I was in a shooting gallery at the... They trucked us up to Khe Sanh for the Tet Offensive. It was bad. It was hell. It was not pretty. So we started living underground. We lived in bunkers because they were bombarding us every day. What they had to do was the C-130s, they would come in, but they wouldn't land. They would just open up the back, throw the stuff out, and then just take back off again. People had to leave. Planes wouldn't stop. They would just keep going, and people would have to run and jump in them. We had been out on patrol, and it was getting dark. So he calls me over, and he says, hey, call in a resupply. He said, but you're gonna have to do it dark because the VC knew that we were there. He said, I want you to go lay out there, use your strobe light. They can see it from above, but they can't see it from the sides. And I'm laying there. I'm talking to the pilot, and I could hear him coming in. Drop on light. So when I said drop on light, I said, oh, shit. Because they were dropping 5-gallon water cans. They were dropping sea ration cases. They were dropping ammo cases. And then the next morning, the lieutenant comes over and he says, come here. And he, excuse my language, he goes, you either got to be the bravest or the stupidest I ever met in my life. He said, I can see myself writing, Dear Mrs. Ortiz, your stupid-ass husband got crushed by a 5-gallon water can. The camaraderie with there was unbelievable. You were very tight with these guys. I had a corpsman, his name was Joseph T. Grossi. A little short guy, he was Italian, and he had a mustache, and he would curl his mustache up like that. If he heard corpsman, he was there. And Grossi would tell me, he says, if anything happens to you, Miles' dad will take care of you. And one day I called Miles, hey Miles, Grossi's always telling me that not to worry, if anything happens to me, your dad will take care of me. He says, what does your dad do? Oh, I didn't tell you. I said, no, he's a mortician. One of my dear friends was on the patrol. A second lieutenant, he was kind of one of these guys wanted to make a name for himself. And they had a couple of Carson scouts with us, Vietnamese, and they saw a couple of NVA out there. The lieutenant wanted to capture them, and the scout told him, no, don't, it's a trap, don't do it. Well, he didn't listen. Well, they got ambushed. There was a 34-man patrol. 28 Marines and 2 corpsmen were killed. This happened in February. They didn't recover the bodies till April. Because we kept trying to send people out to recover the bodies, and we kept losing people. So they said, no, we'll have to wait. It was a bad experience.
I kept failing the hearing test. Every 3 months I had to go take a physical. I got laid off because they was afraid I was going to go into the service. And finally I just said, what would it take for me to go in? I want to volunteer to go to Vietnam. And they said, well, you signed this waiver here. Well, it was an armored personnel carrier, which is a tracked vehicle. We received sniper fire from guys in a tree, and we returned fire, and it's like you kicked an ant bed, and here they come. And so that was a tough time. Shrapnel hit from a rocket hit behind us, and I was in the driver's compartment. I passed out right after that. Next thing I knew, I was laying on the ground, and a helicopter came in, and I don't remember them loading me up or anything. I was in the hospital, unconscious 4 days. Raquel Welch came in the first day I was there, kissed me on the forehead and said, I can wake him up. I didn't wake up. The nurses come running over with a mirror and said, Raquel kissed you, and she tried to wake you up. And there was lipstick all over my forehead, and I had an autographed picture inside my bed, and I sent it home, and my girlfriend tore it up. And she wasn't my girlfriend when I got home. It's a real deep honor to serve your country, to see the men and women beside you lay down their lives for the freedom we have here. Something that will be deep in your heart and you'll never forget. It teaches you a deep respect for your country.
'Cause I've been there when taps was played for a 21-gun salute. I had to hear the words I didn't want to hear. Yeah, I had to face that truth.
My mother was having trouble with me, so she said the best thing for me to do is go in the Marine Corps. The first time you kill somebody, it's hard. But after, you get used to it. And I guess that was the hardest part for me. You don't know much when you're in a firefight. Everybody's shooting, so you don't know what you hit or didn't hit. But when you come hand-to-hand combat, you know what you do. And I had that happen 4 times. And I guess that made me a loner. And it was hard. I was in a trucking outfit. I met a boy named Bobby Baker. He was more like a 15-year-old. His elevator didn't go all the way to the top, but he was nice, and I taught him how to go on convoys and stuff. When I extended, they took me off the trucks. When I got back to Vietnam, Bobby was taking my truck out, and he hit a landmine. I hold that against myself because if I would have stayed, I'd been the one. You know, I was in Whey when Tet Offensive started. There was 2,000 gooks coming at us. NBA, some of them were Chinese. And then we couldn't get out. We were just there. They had us all surrounded. We had a company there. There's 47 people, I think. There was other ones, but you could see them, but there was gooks in between all of us. We fought there for, I guess, 4 days, just night and day. There's no sleeping. We finally cleared them out of Whey, but we lost a lot of people. I was in 11 major battles up around the DMZ, LZ Baldy. It surprised me. You're in that fight, they would come at you even after you shoot them. They wouldn't fall down. They're all doped up on that moon juice that they drank all the time. And you had to shoot them in the head to kill them. And after Tet Offensive, the general says all they wanted was body count. They didn't care how you got it, they wanted body count. The last part of my Vietnam, I was attached to the Rock Marines. That's the Korean Marines. And when they went into a village, they killed everybody. The dog, they didn't care. I cared, but they didn't care. I guess I was there too long. Going to Vietnam Memorial was hard. I don't know. It relieved some. It just seemed like I dropped a lot of stuff. Baggage.
Sent me to a USS Muncie, which was a tugboat. I was the bottom of the barrel, guys. Had a little scuffle. I got thrown in the brig. They called me out and they says, okay, you got to make a dream sheet to go to another ship. I put aircraft carrier, destroyer, cruiser, and he says, are you crazy? You can't go to these ships. He said, you haven't even gone to A school or anything. I said, well, golly, what the heck? Well, send me to Vietnam. And guess what he did? That dirty dog. I got there August 13th, 1965 to Da Nang. I got assigned to the small boat crew. I was nothing but a decade. I didn't know how to come back from Vietnam, so I stayed there 65, 66, 67. I came back. They assigned me to funeral detail. I got sent to do a funeral with a second-class aviation boatswain's mate. You'd walk up there and you should stand at attention there. One at the head of the coffin and the one in the foot. And the worst part about it was that there was the wife, 2 little kids, front row. I said, holy smokes. And the little boy, about 6 years old, little girl, maybe a couple of years younger, walk up, look into the coffin. The little boy said, Daddy, Daddy. He said, wake up. I said, holy smokes. So he did that a couple of times. The little girl would just stand there and look at the body. He was in a dress blues, and he had his cover. The little boy looks up at me and he says, Mister, can I have his hat? Well, needless to say, guys, I lost it. I lost it, buddy. I never did another funeral detail. I said, you can court-martial me, you can send me back to Vietnam or whatever, but that was the toughest thing that I've ever done, guys.
You never disrespect our flag. If you'd ever been handed 140, you never disrespect our flag. If you'd ever been handed 140.
And then it was Joe who said, he says, I'm proud and humbled. And we all felt the same. And it was a little scary from there. When I say that, it was like, do what you want, but don't screw up. That's my whole military, everything. Well, that was the one time I'd have to say I was a little bit scared. Don't screw this one up, because you're representing everybody out there. Yeah?
Have you ever been there when taps was played or for a 21 gun salute? Had to hear the words you never want to hear. Have you ever had to face that truth? When a son or daughter didn't come back home to a family so devoted. Cause I've been there when taps was played for a 21 gun salute. I had to hear the words I didn't want to hear. Yeah, I had to face that truth.
Very emotional to go up. And especially when you've been that close to death. And that reaches deep. But it was an honor to be there and to do that and to walk through it.
One folded. I was just a kid who was following his dad in his boots, stepping on to Normandy, glory, blood, and sand. I signed.
My hat's off to each and every one of you, and it's my deepest honor to say, welcome home!
I was in Vietnam at the beginning. When I came back, we were interviewed on TV. They just knew that we had been attacked and survived it. So we were heroes when we came home. And I hitchhiked, and the people that picked me up wanted not just to take me near my home, they wanted to take me to my house. 2 years later, when we got home, they told us, don't go out in your uniform because the people there are not going to like you.
Back in those days, whether you were in Vietnam vet or whether you were just active duty, didn't matter. People were against you. And the Air Force come out with the deal. They graded us on how well we simulate in local community. I became a volunteer firefighter. There were places that I was stationed that they didn't have volunteer firefighters. I became a volunteer police officer. People disagree with the military and saw some of that resentment caused me to go into being a volunteer for most of my life. And I was a little leery about signing up for honor flight. I wasn't really a combat vet, and I'm glad I did because it did make a big difference.
My dad was in the Navy. I would put on his uniform, and so I did join the Navy. Wound up in a training squadron with pilots. Did you go to Vietnam? And I said, no, I didn't go. Well, it's a good thing because they were baby killers, and I got a lot of negative comments. My favorite part was that little hill where the song was played. Even though I didn't go to Vietnam, it meant a lot to me, and I felt the same way that most of the Vietnam veterans that went and came back without being thanked.
When I got off the plane in Seattle, so many people were looking at it kind of bad. I didn't get spit on me, they got spit on the floor. And I couldn't accept the fact that I went overseas thinking that I was doing something good for the country. It made me feel like I was a stupid fool. I didn't want anything to do with the world because I was burning with hatred inside. How to fly to me was an experience that I'll never forget. You finally let a burning sensation inside of them come out. People understand now, and they love you, and leave it at that.
When I talked to another guy who was in one of the later wars and stuff, they said, how did you guys put up with it when you came back? I said, that's all we knew. That's the way the world was at that time. I didn't even talk about the military to people. It wasn't a very popular thing at the time. My sister didn't even know I was a Vietnam vet until 5 years ago. I had one guy tell me he was a World War II vet. He says, well, that wasn't a real war. I said, you're right. If you get killed in Vietnam, you're not really dead. We weren't shown that attention 50 years ago.
And there would be protesters there once in a while. I had a guard on the gate, and he said, there's a guy down here that's shouting and carrying on, and he said he's coming in. And my friend was a tank officer. He took one of those big M50 tanks. He said, you stop when I holler to stop and swing that gun around. They slid right up to that guy and had that gun sticking in the window. Told him he better get out of here.
When I got home with my short hair, everybody hated me. I had to go into the talk one-on-one with the professors to get in because it was late December. And they would say, you damn baby killer, get your ass out of my office before I call security. I talked with 10 professors before I got the 3 classes that I needed. I get in the airplane and the stewardess comes up and says, oh, I'm sorry, you're not sitting here, you're sitting back there. And I said, okay, so I moved back there. She said, would you like to order a drink? And I said, yeah, I'll have a Coke. And she says, here, takes the tray and dumps it all over me, head to toe. This is in Minnesota, and I'm on the sidewalk. Car comes in, jumps over the snowbank, opens up the passenger door, hits me in the back. And face down I go into the sidewalk. Broke my nose here. They said, you baby killer, you get out of here, and drove away. But yeah, it was a little different coming home, and I wasn't expecting that.
Because when I came back from Vietnam, and I went to the San Francisco airport, and there was a lot of hairy Christians there, and they were throwing urine and feces on us, and they were just, I couldn't adjust. You know, you're just fresh out of high school. You see things like that, it messes you up big time. And then your government, and then the people, how they treated us when we came back, it was just, you really weren't fighting for the United States. You were fighting to keep each other alive. For the guy that was next to you, you were fighting for your buddies. You didn't give a damn about Johnson or who the hell these people were over here. I applied for a job for Safeway. I walk in and there's about 5 or 6 guys there, but they're all these long hair, all these hippie type guys. This man walks out, this Hispanic guy, the guy's wearing a suit and everything. He points at me, he says, come here, I want to talk to you. So he takes me to his office and he goes, you're a Vietnam veteran, aren't you? I said, yeah. I said, I was there with the Marine Corps. Did you see any combat? I said, yeah, I saw quite a bit. He said, well, I like how you look. He said, you look very sure of yourself. You are very impressive, but I can't hire you. I said, well, why not? He said, because Safeway's got a policy right now that we're not hiring Vietnam veterans because you're all crazy. So I went home and I told my wife, I said, babe, I'm going to go back in. She goes, you're crazy. They're going to send you back to Vietnam. I said, well, if I stay here, I'm going to turn into an alcoholic, which I already was on the verge of, or a drug addict. I said, so I have to do something. I can't stay here. When we came off the plane and these people were cheering and clapping for us, and I talked to some of the other guys there, and we didn't know how to react. You know, what do you do? Do you wave? Do you say thank you? I didn't know how to react. That day at the memorial when they sang that song, that was really touching. That, and then when I got the honor of doing the Unknown Soldier, that was amazing. I wasn't expecting all that. It was really something else.
Well, the bombs that killed my brothers, only God knows why, not me. This wounded warrior was sent back home to the land of the brave and free. We were greeted with bitterness and hate. We were dying for our country, but our country was ashamed.
I want you to know that this nation appreciates you. I appreciate you. And we just want to make sure that we wrap our arms around you guys and tell you thank you for what you have done for our nation.
They threw stuff at us when we come back through San Francisco, but I guess I sort of lost it. As we was walking down the corridor, I seen them spitting at some of them. I told one of them, if you mess with me, it's your last day on earth. And I meant it. Because see, I was drinking a lot and I got 3 or 4 DWIs, just it didn't bother me. This cop that stopped me, he says, is there any place I can take you that you can get any help? I said, no. And they found out I was in the Marine Corps. He took me to the VA. And that was in '95. And I haven't had a drink since.
Taken down to the airport, a lot of people there that didn't want us back. And it seemed like it was organized and they were all waiting for us. I think the whole trip, it's about giving vets a thing to heal. And the welcome in El Paso really took me home.
None of us from Vietnam got the welcome home that we received since I've been on this honor flight. The whole trip is very emotional. The trip of your life. Be with other veterans, did the same journey you did. It has to be a veteran talking to another veteran to open his heart. It's a good place to relieve some of that pain. So it was great. For years, they tried to get me to do this trip here, and I wished I wouldn't have been so stubborn. Very blessed to have made this trip. Never felt more welcomed home.
It's a wonderful feeling to have gotten on that airplane, and the minute you felt the liftoff, there was an internal elation that just we're not in Vietnam anymore. And we're landing in the United States. It's our home. There was nothing there. There was no officer standing at the front of the plane, shaking your hand and saying thank you. Nothing.
What did you think of the homecoming here?
I don't know. I was crying the whole time. I had to see the whole thing through tears. I'll admit it. I'm thinking, why didn't they do that for our soldiers when they got back from Vietnam? You know, even if it was just 3 Boy Scouts, you know, welcome home. That's all it would have taken. We're happy to be home. For a long time, there's been this lack of closure. I think this did it. It brought, excuse me if I tear up, but I never talked about Vietnam to anybody. I didn't feel people wanted to even hear about Vietnam. The visiting of the monuments was secondary. Mostly seeing what you all were doing brought a lot of closure to what I have felt for many years. Icing on the cake, that's it. Icing on the cake to me was the way you treated us.
That was amazing. The guys started calling me, I seen you on TV. How was it? Man, it was outstanding, Elena. Unbelievable. But I run to a fellow Vietnam veteran, we shake hands and welcome home. That's between both of us. With the welcome home added to the atmosphere that was out there. Welcome home. The cherry on top of the frosting of the cake, that was really, really outstanding. The whole thing was just amazing.
For all those who often got and never heard the words, they think that they don't matter. Let me be the first. Welcome home. Welcome home. We were dying for our country.
My guardian was Brian. He was like the little lamp that you rub. The little genie comes out and says, "Your wish is my command."
That's when I heard those simple words.
Kudos to Estelle. I want her to be my guardian forever.
Just me and the
I want to thank Mama Bear, Elaine.
thinking about those who didn't come home.
That was the first time I've been on a plane since I landed in San Francisco. And the seats, boy, they cut them in half.
I was barely hanging on.
My roommate, Brian, he and I are glad to announce that we're engaged. And we're going to tie the knot at the reunion, and you're all invited, but no gifts.
For all those who often got and never heard the words, they think that they
Randy pushed me all over the place.
So are you telling me that he pushed you around the whole time?
He did. And I always ended up going through the back door on the bus.
will come home.
God bless United USA.